Michael here at GOLFWOD, and today we are talking about the kettlebell swing. How you can nail the technique and the 3 factors which are going to lead to huge improvements for your golf game. We need to nail the technique and to use our posterior chain and the ground correctly to create an optimal motion. Now, for this, we're looking to maintain our core position and our spinal position throughout. And the first movement is not down. We're not going to squat. We are going to push our hips back, let our chest come forwards. Again, maintain this great spinal position. Here, we start to engage the posterior chain and we can use the ground properly. Okay, from there, as you pick the kettlebell up, we want to see that the kettlebell can hinge in the wrists. Again, just like the golf swing, the last end range of motion comes from the wrists and that release of the energy. So, as we start, we push the hips back, the chest comes forwards, we get into this really strong position where the big muscles are doing the work, and then we can swing the kettlebell between our legs. Okay, it's going to stay high up the thigh, and then as you get that momentum, you're then going to fire the hips, come up to a standing position, pushing into the ground, extending the glutes, and then hit your swing. So as we extend, eye level. So, each and every rep, you should feel yourself push your hips back, create tension through the muscles and through the ground, and then you're going to rebound. So, core's tight, neutral spine, extend up, and at the top, you should finish in a really strong position, kettlebell up, with your shoulder, your hip, and your heel all in alignment. Okay? So, factor number 1 is going to be glute activation and overall power profiles. So, with the technique of the kettlebell swing, as we push back and hinge, we're consciously using the ground to then fire up through the legs, transfer through the hips, and then send all of the energy to the end of the arm and into the kettlebell. Which, if you follow me over to the mat right now, is going to be exactly the same for your golf swing. So, we talked through the dynamics of the kettlebell swing. Now let's link that directly to the golf swing. So, when we set up to the ball, you'll hear all of the best players, all the best coaches always talk about using the ground and using the big muscles in your swing. Now, if you have underactive glutes, or if you're maybe too tight in the hip flexors and you don't quite have the movement patterns necessary, you're going to have a very difficult time, okay? And one of the things you're almost always going to see, if the glutes aren't as active as they should be, if you can't hold your position because of weakness in the legs, is going to be that early extension. And early extension is very difficult to manage because you're going to be able to hit left or right and you're not really going to have any control. So, early extension, we get into the swing, and because we don't have that glute activation and that power through the ground, once we swing down, the glutes have to give up, go back to a vertical position, and from there, we're not in a good way to hit the ball, right? We can't use the ground, we can't use the power that is possible through correct footwork and through a good activation of that posterior chain. So, once you start to increase that, one of the simplest ways is the kettlebell swing. Because as we work through, we're constantly working those muscle groups, we're constantly working the pattern of using the ground and connecting that all the way up through the body. So, if you think about the dynamics of the kettlebell swing, we said about how effortlessly the kettlebell itself would move as a weight. We now put that in a rotational pattern, and the effortless movement now comes down to the club. Because as we work, we're going to be able to use the glutes, we're going to be able to use the ground so that when we swing, we can pressure up that trail side going back, we can use the ground into the downswing where we start to push and pull into that rotational pattern and really let that ball fly through a great amount of activation and power from those strong legs. So, factor number 2 is going to be core strength, spinal positioning, and essentially your posture in the golf swing. So, relative to the kettlebell swing, we talked about how your posture can easily get away and you don't necessarily have the awareness to create the correct activation profiles for an efficient movement. Learning through the kettlebell swing, which again is one of the simplest ways to do it, is going to allow you to create power and movement through the ground whilst maintaining the best core position and the best spinal position possible, okay? Because once we have that external load, our proprioceptive awareness of where that weight is relative to our center of mass, basically how we keep balance and how we maintain good movement, is going to be amplified. We're going to feel exactly where we should be. We start to work with the kettlebell and not against it, and that is where we become most efficient. So, creating the best core activation is always going to help you with your spinal position, because they work hand in hand, guys, all right? If you can't activate your core, you may well go into an excessive extension. You might also sit underneath if your glutes and that posture aren't working together to create that solid brace where our posterior chain's working, our core's working, and from there, we have a really powerful and athletic position to start with once we take you into the rotational pattern of the golf swing. Let's talk about that right now. So, posture closely links to what we talked about before. If we can't maintain that glute position and have the strength to use the ground, we're unlikely to stay in a great posture as we come down and through the ball. And again, the best players are always in that right tilt. They're going to be down here, going to be in a strong position, staying over the ball, using the ground and rotating at the same time. We all want to get as close to that as possible, and again, being able to work a proper core position around a neutral spine is going to help you to do that. So as we learn through that kettlebell swing, where we're hinging back, maintaining neutral spine whilst activating the posterior chain, we then take that over to the golf swing, because if we can then start to activate the correct muscle groups at the right time, we can hold ourselves in position, create a body-led swing where the club is going to work around us and we're not going to have to fight for positioning. Okay, so my swing thoughts are always to keep my spine angle as solid as possible. I really like to think about that core area where we are feeling as strong as possible and turn that into the trail leg. Okay, so we talked about that brace before. Core's engaged, glutes are engaged, and from there, your spine's going to stay pretty solid to the point where we can turn around it, create a nice inclination, a nice top of the backswing position, but even more importantly, stay in the shot on the way down. Okay, so as we download into the ball, we need to be able to maintain a spine angle whilst under a lot of forces. All right, we're rotating, we're creating speed, we've got the club working around us, and from here we need to be able to maintain for as long as possible, and then come up out of the shot. Okay, so the use of the kettlebell swing as often as possible is going to help you to increase core activation and maintain your spine angle better through every club in the bag. And factor number 3 is going to be sequencing. Again, all of these go hand in hand. They are very closely connected, but the efficiency and the quality of each is going to define how far you hit the ball, how consistent you are, and basically how long you can maintain that with a healthy body. Okay, so kinematic sequencing, the actual sequence of movement required for the kettlebell swing and the golf swing, again, are linked. They're in different planes, but they are very much the same. So as we work through that kettlebell swing, again, we are engaging the ground first of all. We're then trying to work up through the legs, into the hip, where we can then transfer that energy. And that is one of the big keys here, okay? We create energy through the ground and our legs. We get to the hip. The use of the hips is vital in connecting the lower and upper body, which is how the energy is transferred from the torso through the extremities to the kettlebell or to the golf club, okay? And if you think about this in a power pan, we got to go legs, we got to go torso, and then the amount of release we can create at the end range of our extremities, at the hands basically, that's going to mean that you are extremely efficient with the kettlebell. You can lift plenty of weight, you can do lots of reps without stopping, but importantly for us golfers, it's also going to mean that we can create maximal club head speed in the most efficient and optimal way possible, which is what we are always looking for. And again, we're going to hit the mat one more time to go through that swing and how you can sequence the kettlebell swing into your golf swing sequence to create more power. The kinematic sequence in your swing is all about timing, and it's also all about power. So when we talk about the kinematic sequence, and people do often, guys, all right, we've got to start neutral. And again, when you're in your setup position, you're thinking about your active core, you're thinking about your spine angle, but you're not tensing up. You're not trying to be too active. You just want to be over the ball, ready to go. So, once we're in that position, the kinematic sequence is basically the order of movement. And what we're going to talk about is how that works up through the ground, around the spine and the torso, and then to the hands, and then reverse it on the way down, guys, all right? And again, we've talked about this before, a lot of people have talked about this before, but learning the patterns and becoming more and more efficient at it can be extremely simple, okay? So as we then work down, you're going to see that pattern reversed, okay? So working up through the swing, you're looking to go from the ground up. So we go 50-50 to begin with. As we start back, you're going to start feeling that weight transfer through the trail foot, from the middle, slightly into the heel as you then go up to the top of the swing. As you then engage there, the sequence transfers from the foot up through the leg, up to the hip. The torso is then up next, okay? As we rotate around the spine, the arms, which should be creating width here, then start to come back towards the body, okay? They can't keep traveling away. That's how you create a nice wide arc, okay? So we've gone lower body, torso, into the arms at the top, and then you're gonna reverse it, okay? So we start pressing our weight from the ground, from that trail foot. We're gonna start to move back to the lead foot. And again, think about going from neutral into the trail heel, through the trail foot, into the lead into the front foot of the lead foot, and then into the lead heel, okay? You'll see in my swing, as you do with a few tour players as well, that the lead heel actually pivots and the left foot moves quite a lot during the swing, okay? So as you transfer the energy, that sequence, we go legs, torso, arms, and then repeat. Legs, torso, and then arms, okay? So just like with that kettlebell, the hands and wrists should be the last thing to work, and all of the potential energy of the body, all the way up from the ground, is then going to be released into the shot itself. That's your X factor. That's your kinematic sequence. It's not only the most efficient and best way for the body to move, it's also going to create the most power and going to allow you to be super consistent, because you're going to just create the same arc, you're going to create the same swing, and as long as your fundamentals are solid, we're going to hit some great golf shots. So we've looked through the technique, we've looked through 3 hugely important factors of golf performance, and right now you should be thinking that if you're not already, that kettlebell training should be a part of what you do. And it is something that we do each and every day, guys, okay? The kettlebell swing itself is extremely dynamic. It's not going to have a massively tiresome approach on your body. You can do them very often, even to the point of doing them every day, greasing that groove, making sure that your hip hinge and the power that we're working on through those swings is just better and more efficient each and every day. So from the kettlebell swing, you are then going to be able to develop on to a whole host of different kettlebell movements, whether you go from the clean and the snatch into squats, lunges, thrusters, and deadlifts. You have a whole host of options in terms of working with just one piece of equipment. And if you want to look further than that, our Kettlebell 30 workout program is the perfect way to have a full month of training with a kettlebell that is going to be challenging and engaging. It's also going to give you huge progress both in the gym and on the course. So go ahead and check that out, guys, okay? As we move on from there, you have all different types of training available, and we hope you enjoyed this video, guys, okay? What we are trying to do is to try and give you the best body possible, physically, aesthetically as well, but also match that to your lifestyle. We all have a lot going on right now. The ability to blend your training with the motivation of getting better at golf, but also improving your health is huge. So we want to help you in the best way possible, fit training into your lifestyle and benefit your golf game, okay? The best body possible is going to allow you to play your best golf possible, and that is what we are trying to achieve each and every day, guys, all right? Really appreciate you checking in. One more thing that we ask of you is to subscribe to the channel. We are trying to build, we are looking to increase our visibility. We're looking to increase the amount of content we can put on YouTube, and every person that subscribes helps us towards our goals and keeps us putting this content out, guys, okay? You can check back through our old videos. We've got a stack now mounting up, all of which are going to help you with your game and going to make you a better, stronger golfer. So hit subscribe, check out our website, check out the app, because that is where it's all at. We appreciate your time, and remember, golf strong.